You're listening to RIAcast, a podcast of the Southwest Florida Real Estate Investment Association. RIAcast brings together a variety of real estate entrepreneurs from all over the world to share tips and ideas. The core purpose of the Southwest Florida RIA is to help members become more profitable and successful through networking, education, and empowerment. Here are your hosts, Jeff Tamarello and Michael Lyons.
I am Jeff Tamarello, one of the directors of the Southwest Florida RIA, joined by the other director of the Southwest Florida RIA. We thought we would talk about kind of one of the worst things that can happen to you as a property owner, navigating code violations, permitting, and red tags.
Those are fun.
Yeah, it's always a good
time. Well, the nice thing, just from the get-go, when it comes to code violations, this is public record, so it's something you can pull up and find out, from the get-go. And then when you call the code office, you can actually get some details on what they're looking for. Sometimes too, what a code violation states is not exactly or necessarily all that the officer's worried about. Meaning it could be one minor thing they've got listed, it's one statute that they've got, a bunch of stuff listed on it. They're only worried about one problem. So, definitely do your due diligence in working with that. But what are your thoughts on that, on dealing with code officers?
Well, I mean, you can check for the violations, but I bought a property and got hit with one like the next day after closing.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, what I learned from that is, especially if you're buying in a neighborhood, get to know the code officer. You call them up. Hey, Tom, are you about to whack this one? Because I'm thinking about buying it. And,
yeah.
Most of the officers are pretty decent to deal with.
If you communicate what you're doing and keep your word, and they're great to work with. If you work with them good, they'll work back with you good. If you're a pain in the butt to them, they can give it right back to you.
Once you get on their bad side,
good luck.
Yeah, have somebody else start talking to
them. Yep, 100%. Gosh, yeah, that's so true. No.
So what? Say you're going to buy it. I mean, it depends on the municipality. You need to be cognizant of where you're buying. Like Estero's a city, Bonita's a city, Fort Myers Beach is a city. Then there's Lee County, Cape Coral. All the above.
Yep.
So make sure you're aware of where you're buying. And you're searching the right place. I have seen people that have searched Lee County and had no code violations, but it was Cape Coral House. They just didn't realize.
Yeah. So. I checked Lee County; it was clear. Yeah. Well, you mentioned that too. When it comes, one of the things that you can get pinged for a code violation is unpermitted work. And one of the great things about all of Lee County when it comes to our property appraiser's website and the information is any permit that's pulled on the property is going to be on that website, on the property itself. So you can go there. If you see an extra room in the back that's not part of the floor plan, pretty safe to say there was no permit involved in that. And, be aware going into it that could come up in the future as a problem. If they do some kind of, I found with code violations, they might find one thing, but after they find the one, they keep on investigating. And that's where you might have some more issues. And again, you want to be in compliance. You want to avoid that stuff. But at the same time.
That's something we've talked about at the last couple of meetings. If you get in this situation, it is more expensive, but go private service provider as fast as you can. You can't do that with code violations. But when it comes to permitting, you want to go private. It's just going to go better. It's more expensive, but it tends to not be all that fun. The private service provider generally goes within the scope of what they're there to do. Not the wide-eyed county guy. Hey, check that out. Where'd that come from? Oh, you guys eat goulash? Yeah, we don't. Goulash is against Cape Coral's code. So Peter could live in Cape Coral than Peter Collar.
Oh man, yeah, Peter would not be a good option there. But again, even these building department individuals, and I think they have way more work than they've got staff to do it. So they're overwhelmed. But I would say take care of them, be very friendly, do what they ask, and that'll make your life a lot easier. But again, you have no control over some individual that goes out there and sees something they don't like and then they ping you for it and say no permit was pulled here, and you say, well, I bought it like this. Well, it doesn't matter.
That is not a defense.
Not even close to a defense. Although I think a lot of people think, why isn't it like grandfathered in? I bought it like that. Nope, no, they don't care. They could absolutely care less. So you got to be careful about that. Yeah, you got to be very careful about that. And there's some easy stuff too with code violations. Overgrown grass and maybe debris in the yard, or
they call it nuisance accumulations. Overgrown grass. Those are the two main ones. Where do they come from? You will get the occasional code violation from an officer in the neighborhood that sees it. For the most part, it's your neighbor.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, it's someone that does. Well, again, too, I kind of even get it. You got your house next door to you, and your house you're taking care of, and you got a neighbor, of course, the house you just bought, that's overgrown, looks like crap, got stuff in the yard. They want to get it cleaned up, so they don't want to go face to face with the other, maybe the old owner, to say that. They want to have their neighborhood look good. So I get it.
And the contractors who didn't get the bid, there's another source of.
That's true too. Oh yeah, that's so true.
Well, some guy comes out and does a full bid on it, and then it goes and you've got your unlicensed handyman doing a massive rehab. Some of them will turn you in, some of them won't. So,
and doing it for a fourth of the cost of what
imagine that
for some guys. So no, that's huge. That's huge. Well, being proactive, we're going to discuss for a minute the part of buying a property and doing all this kind of research. I mean, there's so much data online you can find prior, and even what you said too, they'll tell you what officer covered. If you call the code enforcement office, you give an address, you'll say what officers corresponds to this area, and you can speak to the officer. I mean, they are pretty easy to work with in that sense. They can give you a good idea. So, and
if it's a problematic house, call them up and tell them, hey, give me an example. Where my boat lives on Pond Island, it had code violations. Yeah. That house, and we talked to the code officer and told him, look, we're going to immediately strip there was vinyl siding hanging everywhere from me and damage, a couple other things. We're going to immediately get it gutted. We don't know whether we're going to stucco or hardy board it, but once we communicated to him, he actually took the code violations off and gave us 30 days to get to work. We then, by that time, had applied for a permit to do windows and doors and stuff like that. And the dude was amazing. I mean, he actually showed up, and to his credit, like, hey, this is wrong and that's wrong, and helped us down, through the process.
Sure.
So, but we had a conversation with him before closing of this is what's going to happen. And he actually paved the way versus when he took the code violation off, it stopped the clock from running. So we don't have to go to hearings now. We don't have to, and they were just happy somebody was going to start fixing the house.
Sure. No, yeah, that makes sense. And again, you communicate. Most of these individuals, like code officers, are very reasonable, and they'll work with you as long as you're, respectful and working with them. I think the problem too is how dare you give me a code violation, and it's like very obvious that it's a code violation. It's like that's why, and so
it is not the time to remind them they're a public servant.
Yeah, that would not go. You work for me, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the time to. And they're just people doing a job for the most part. That's just. You can say all you want about this or why aren't they in construction or why, but ultimately it's just somebody that went to work today and they're just trying to get through the day.
That's right.
And again, not to make that day worse.
There's the vast majority of people, if you're cordial and polite and respectful, everything's gonna be fine. There are those out there where regardless of what you say, they're not gonna like it and you're gonna get a bad reaction. And that's just, that's life. But generally speaking, do the right thing. Let them know. And then, a lot of investors will try to cut corners on not pulling permits. And it can affect you on a flip and it can affect you on a long-term hold if you're going to rent it out. So I just don't see the advantage. You might pay a little bit more, but then you're in compliance. And then I don't know, I get, there's people that are like, I'm just going to get it for much cheaper. Like it's pretty expensive to go back, tear it all out and do it the right way. If you do it wrong and someone catches you. So
not to mention on a flip, if you're under contract and this comes up, you're probably losing a buyer.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, now you've got a real estate agent that's going to look at anything you're on title with going forward. If you're going to work that market, who's just going to assume you didn't do it right.
Absolutely.
The unpermitted, the stop orders are a nightmare. because stop order on the whole property.
Oh yeah, you can't. You're done working there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So
have you ever heard of anyone continuing? And I mean, what would they? I
it's
wonder
bad.
what.
Well,
Yeah.
but then they pin their ears back and really start looking for things versus let's fix this.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I haven't heard anyone to keep going, but I wonder what they would do if you did keep going. I mean, I got to
Well,
pull you off the property, but
late '90s, you could get away with a lot of stuff back in those days. There was roofs done on the weekend and all that, and for the most part, if they didn't catch you doing it, wasn't that big of a deal anymore. You know what I mean? But the world's changed.
yep.
Insurance requirements are definitely an issue. I had a
100%.
guy pitching me the other day. There's a new company making the rounds where they spray the roof to rejuvenate the shingles,
Yeah.
which may or may not work. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion, but
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, well, the insurance company is going to go roofs over 15 years old. We're not insuring it. And it doesn't matter. Hey, bro, I sprayed Windex on it. It's okay. It doesn't.
This is roof conditioner. We've got a few more minutes left here.
Yeah, even if it's through BioLodge or like the good shampoo or something, it does not matter, And if you don't have insurance, well then maybe it buys you 5 years, maybe it buys you 10 years, but the insurance company is going to dictate that, and that is something in the day that was not an issue.
No, no, it
I'm
really
not
wasn't.
saying I did a roof on the weekend, but I'm saying I know some houses that had some roofs done on the weekend.
I can neither confirm or deny, acknowledging everything you just said, that I've done it as well.
But
Maybe.
those days are over with. You cannot do that. Like you want to share the one manufactured you just bought as a rental.
Oh yeah. Well, no. I've got. Well, I guess two. Yeah, one. So when I bought one, knowing there was code violations on it, I mean, I talked to the officer, and yeah, it's a mess. And I said, yeah, we're gonna make everything right. And I am pulling a permit on that one, and it's actually we pulled the permit. We're just this county's taking forever to come out and inspect everything. But that's been in the works. I knew from the get go it was gonna be bad, and it's worked out. I mean, it's fine. But the other one I did, I mean, full transparency. After Ian, it was chaos. It was the only property that I own out of several that was damaged. The rest of them, thankfully, were in good shape, but this, for whatever reason, got mangled. And I had an electrical issue at the property probably 4 or 5 months ago, if that even, and a couple months ago. And I said, just put a new, do it all right, get a contractor out, pull a permit, and be in compliance. I don't want to worry about it. And the licensed electrician, went to go pull the permit, and they tagged it like you can't. You did work after the Hurricane Ian or after Hurricane Ian that you didn't pull permits on. And so I called the office and I said, "What do you mean I did work after? Not denying or confirming it, And they said, "Well, did you or did you not do work on this? I think they're trying to catch you." I'm like, I can either confirm or. And at that point, I'm kind of joking with them, and I just said, "How do you know that?" And they said, "Well, we did aerial views of the entire area after the storm. So anything that was clearly damaged, we have evidence of." So we're going back now, researching, for example, roofs are obviously the most obvious thing that you can tell are damaged. And we're going back and cross-referencing permitting and non-permitting. And clearly you put a roof on after that. I said, clearly I did what I need to do. Yeah. So, and I said, no problem. I mean, I'll pull a permit to do it. And I mean, $5,000 later, the permit's finished tomorrow. Or the roof's finished tomorrow. We already passed first inspection. Like it's good now. But, I don't know if I'd be money ahead or not, because after a hurricane, it's a lot more expensive to do a roof than it is 3 years later. So I think even looking back, it worked out as best as it could have, all things considered. But again, I'm not alone in that, meaning there's going to be a lot of people getting notifications or getting letters from the city saying you did work without permits. We have evidence of it, and all the areas that flooded. I've got a couple of properties that I'm managing that are in flooded areas, and thankfully, what I've dealt with so far, I just took on one single family home, and I got this letter. I said, well, and again, I just got the client a couple months ago, if that. And I said, did you remodel it without a permit? It goes, I sure did. It goes, well, you better start communicating and getting permits pulled. And
well, you can go down and pull one after the fact. It's not that, and they're going to be a lot more kind, is a better word to put it. Yeah. If you basically turn yourself in and say, look, I didn't know what to do. I did the work, but I know I need to have it. What do we need to do, especially as an owner permit on your own home or whatever? Sure. It's just kind of like when you were a kid. Mom and dad know what you did. Like I was an only child, so I would try and BS my way out of how something got broke, but I was the only one that lived there.
You hope you had like a big dog you could blame it on or something, or
Yeah, we didn't have a dog either. There was nobody to blame but me. I'd still try and sell it to the day, but at some point, just go. This is what happened, and they appreciate being honest. What I will tell you too, document your conversations.
Yep.
As like I usually keep a just a pad of paper in the truck. So
Yeah.
if you have that conversation, at least write down. I spoke to him on this day, who you spoke to, roughly what you spoke about. So that will help a lot if there's any questions. So it's
Just good luck getting it in writing. It's not going to happen.
well, you're not going to get it in writing for them, but that way you know where you're at. So especially if you've got multiple properties with a bunch of issues, it's important to document those conversations.
Totally agree. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being up front, and again, I think as investors, or maybe just as people, but as investors, you want to cut as many corners to save money is kind of the approach you want to take, so your return's higher. But it's a lot more expensive to fix a problem than doing it right in the first place. You do it right in the first place, and that whole concern's gone. So I don't know. I'm with you on that. Finding out what needs to be fixed, going back up there, being upfront about it, and fixing it the right way, because they're going to catch it. They're not messing around. And again, it'll affect you when you try to sell it. I mean, when the day comes, you try to sell it. The insurance part you mentioned is so true. Not even just with insurance for the roof, but hot water heaters, HVAC systems, electrical, plumbing. They're looking at those things now more than ever with all the insurance problems people are having. So our companies are having. So you got to be in compliance, or you're not going to be covered. You could kill your deal when you go to sell it. So
yeah,
doing it the right way is the best way to do it. It just is.
Yeah.
So
You also have a lot of the private service provider cannot be stressed enough. There are people that handle permits for a living. There are people that will do inspections for a living, and they're kind of on your team. I can't stress that enough. If you have, and it used to be Lee County was really easy to work with, but in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, I'm not saying they woke up and decided, to tell Cape Coral and the city of Fort Myers to hold my beer. I mean, they're still easier to work with than some of the cities.
Yeah.
But for the most part, even Lee County, you're better off going the private service provider. And another thing that used to be, and everybody that's in the game has a mindset of if you're under contract to get a good deal and it's got like $100,000 in code violations because of some issues that have been around for years, that you can get them down to hard costs.
Those days are
not
gone.
the case anymore.
Nope. I think I heard the percentage of 20 to 30% of the lien. So that's $20,000 to $30,000 in the scenario you just gave with $100,000. I mean, that's significant. That has a huge impact on whether or not you want to do a deal. So if let's say your profit on it, if you're doing a flip is $45,000, $50,000, if you got $30,000 in violations and fees, the only weird thing about that I don't get, and maybe it's wiped out in an auction, I don't know, but like if you want, it doesn't make any sense. If you want an investor to buy it and they're going to go, or anyone to buy it, the end user to buy it that's going to live in it, you nail them with this percentage of fees, but then you don't want to buy it because you hear that. You're stopping the ability to get someone in who's going to take care of it. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't see the advantage. I mean, they want their money and their fees, I guess, but it definitely is going to have a negative impact on some properties that could have been bought by someone who's going to fix it up, make it look good for the neighborhood, come in compliance, and it's better for everybody. But I don't know. Not my call, obviously, but I don't agree with that percentage. That kills a lot of deals.
I just think they see dollars, and you can't give the government enough money.
No, and they're really good at spending it. I mean, like really good at it.
And there's a lot of, as we return to a normal market, foreclosures haven't gotten anywhere near the point where they matter. But one of my favorite, why it's so important to get people that know what they're doing. There was a big fund out of Chicago that came to town, and they had a retail realtor, basically spouses selling houses, advising them on how to buy at the steps.
Oh man.
And they bought, and then I'm pretty sure her farm market was like HOAs. So they started buying in all these HOAs. And a bank's only liable for 6 months of the HOA fees. Now, if you or I buy it, we're responsible for all of
Yep.
it. And it was kind of funny watching that entity get whacked with all these lawsuits after the fact. I mean, I feel for them, but you know, and I'm like, they're spending millions of dollars a month, but nobody on the team knew the basic rules.
That's kind of scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing too. I mean, again, you and I are both real estate brokers and and agents. I guess we can knock them if we'd like, but you got to be really careful who you're working with on what they know and what they're doing. There are some incredible real estate agents. There's not many of them, in my opinion, but there are some that really know their stuff. And you're not going to go take a real estate class and just get your license and know a lot of the things that come with some time and experience.
It's kind of like the unpermitted thing. You save a couple bucks, but in the end, just because your niece has a real estate license and she's cute as a button and you love her, it doesn't mean, I mean, depends on what you're buying, but if you're doing especially some complex investment deals, I can get a deal from my veterinarian, but I probably don't want him doing heart surgery on me.
Yeah. That's so true.
Sorry, Doug.
Sorry, man, but
we love him.
We love him, but no heart surgery, man. No, you're right though. But like,
he may have dug a fish hook out of me a couple times, but
yeah, I did that this weekend. That's a lot of fun, but that's a story for another day. But dug it out of my own hand. Cutting your own skin with a dull knife that might be a little rusty. That's weird. That was not fun. But that's a bad idea. We'll have to do a video on that one of these days. But a lot of agents are, I don't know, energetic, and they'll show you property and they're good at that. But to break down actual costs, to break down a spreadsheet over the next couple of years, how this could go based upon taxes, insurance, expenses, vacancies, there's a little more to that. I would say even a lot more to that. And not very few agents actually specialize in that kind of stuff.
Oh, that spreadsheet of those builder properties I just sent you over.
Yeah. Jeff and I won't share it, but we just looked at a spreadsheet and we're like, these numbers don't make any sense.
Well, then what do you think? $200 a month too high on the rent?
At least. And again, and that's just it. An agent that doesn't have experience in the investment side looking at those numbers and go, hey, this is pretty good. But you go in and check. And here's one of the problems too with that. You go on realtor.com, you go on Zillow, you go on these bigger sites where a lot of rentals are. And it's listed for this. Well, that means nothing. It's like having the list price for selling a property. It's listed for $400,000. Yeah, but it's worth $250,000. Doesn't matter what the list price says. So just from the investment side, just gotta be real careful on your acquisition, your actual cost, your actual potential income off rent. Again, real estate is awesome. It's exciting. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's not very awesome.
It can be really exciting if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, really exciting for the moment. Then you realize what the heck you're doing.
Like you're talking about the asking price on rents. A certain build-to-rent developer that we both know and have done business with was convinced that there were higher rents to be had. So he listed some of their product on Zillow. He got a bunch of phone calls, and because he had phone calls, he assumed that meant that there was qualified tenants in that price range. I assure you, nobody that called him would have passed a background screening.
Well, that, and just to be a little more descriptive on that advertisement, he was $700 approximately over market on the rent rate. And then he would say, I'm getting calls. I'm like, yeah, well, I get spam calls too, man. Like, that doesn't mean it's something legit, but it was like, I'm getting calls. We got to be able to rent at this. So I'm like, you're not living in reality. That's not what's happening. So interesting stuff, man. Interesting. So, well.
So you're actually done with the roof? That's done today?
Yep. They got the initial permit pulled at the 3 steps or 4 steps depending on what they're doing, but already cleared the first, doing the final tomorrow. So yeah, we should be good on it. But that knowing a good roofer and networking is huge. Having a roofer that's done roof work here for probably 30 years, 40 years, knows the building department, says, look, here's what I'm doing, explains it all. I think that helps too. Just a side note, when it comes to doing contract work and pulling permits, just be careful who you have to do the work. Someone that knows the ins and outs of Lee County, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, all these locations, and has done it before. She's got, again, not knocking new businesses coming to the area, come bring your business, but it does help to know a bunch of people, and you can go, look, this is exactly what I'm doing. Not just that,
you've done it enough to where you know what mistakes you've made. A property recently Guy comes to town from up north, has had some success up north, came to a couple of our meetings, and then went off into the great beyond of Southwest Florida. Got hooked up with a realtor and a wholesaler that kind of took all the equity out of a flip, put him in a bad flip, flood zone,
Hmm.
flooded house, older house, lots of problems.
Yeah.
They hook him up with a contractor who not only got paid market at least to rehab it, somehow was a partner in the deal,
Oh,
and then did not pull a permit for this Ian flood damaged house. And all the permit was it wasn't that much. It just would have been a very simple permit to do at the time. After the fact, to get a closing done, has to get a permit done. And they did the permit application. You can tell they obviously don't do a lot of these, to where somehow on a bathtub they're needing engineering
on a bathtub?
on a bathtub.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that's just Pandora's box. The next thing opens the next thing opens the next thing. And if the contractor in question was cognizant and did that a lot, they would have known what to do to not create, unless they're trying to create more work. And then you don't want that person either. You want somebody that, you need to pay them for their time. But if they're in there generating problems so they can keep billing you, uh, get rid of that person like it's the plague.
Oh no, 100%. Well, that and another thing that's kind of interesting. So, I had 2 nights ago. I was with a very dear friend of mine, and he lives in a golf course community in the Cape. I won't say which. And there's this mansion that was being built. I mean, we're 5 bedrooms, 5.5 bath. Just huge. I think 4,000 square foot, 5,000. And that's like a mansion, but it's huge. I mean, it's a really beautiful home. And they after it's maybe not even halfway built, but they put the roof on it, went to go inspections, and someone from the city said this will not sustain that roof. You've got to. It's been sitting for 2 years, and they
Oh,
haven't done anything to it. It was just like incredible. And I'm thinking, well, how'd they get it passed through the city to start the process in the first place? But again, for him, he lives right by. It's like an eyesore right behind, very close to him, within his sight. And this
in the
huge,
city of Cape Coral, though,
yeah,
that's the same one with a different member that went to CO condo complex, and they're like, "Oh, by the
yes.
way, we can't give you a CO because the building should be 6 inches higher."
Oh man,
And they had inspected it all the way through, and so had the GC, and he ended up having to pour 6 inches of concrete and put everything back in to have the right, that flood elevation +1.
oh,
And thank God he had 9 foot ceilings.
yeah.
We both know who John Body. He's a great guy.
Oh, great guy, yeah.
Long time RIA member. Cost him $500,000, and the city. They've not only is it the government. I mean, you can't really sue the government. They have sovereign immunity. You're not really going to get paid. And if
Yep.
you sue them, you might as well just demo the building, because God help you going forward. So, and
Yeah.
quit doing business there ever.
Oh yeah, they're not easy. But did he end up getting that fixed? Did he get it
Yeah,
raised?
he got it CO'd. I talked to him, not too. I've been checking on him just out of like, bro, you okay?
Yeah.
I'll drive over there and give you a hug. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's been
Call
going
me. We'll
through it.
double hug him, man. Call me.
He needs there. That's an area everybody would need a couple hugs to
Yeah,
get through that. I
gosh.
mean, it cost him $500,000
Wow.
uh,
And
uh,
he's
on a tight project.
is he out? You
Yeah,
think?
yeah, they're starting to. He's going to survive.
Okay.
So that's important. I mean, I think may make $1, but yeah, more importantly, you got to survive it to make it to the next one.
Yep. Agreed. No, I agree. Oh, but what a horrible experience. That'd be miserable. Yeah, it'd be absolutely
So
miserable.
let's talk about, just close this out on
Sure.
for code violations, permits, and all that. Number one, communicate, and that's just everything. Whenever, like, some of the hard money lenders that come to our meetings have a couple problematic loans in the area. The ones that get foreclosed on are the one that quit talking.
Yep.
The ones who call up, hey, I'm having this problem. Here's what's going on. Here's my plan. Those people don't get foreclosed on, which just costs everybody more time and more money and more brain damage, unless you're the attorney, and then attorneys live for that's why they're there.
Oh, you know what? But communicating, like you said, it applies to everything. Tenants that I have that are paying late, if they don't communicate, they're getting evicted. There's no conversation. There's no way to know what they're doing, what kind of game plan they have. We can't assist them with getting assistance. It's over. Tenants that communicate, that make, hey, this day I'm gonna pay this. This is my plan. They sign a document. They're working with us. It works out. But when you go, ghost somebody, there's no option to fix it. I mean, that applies even in just the real estate business in general. Even I always talk about property management for obvious reasons. It's what I do. Communication is the biggest complaint of why I get new clientele. Their current office is 2 to 3, sometimes 4 days in getting back to them. They can't call and talk to somebody. There's no communication. And that's just, like, to me, pretty simple. Like, call me, we talk about it. I mean, it's an easy concept, but communication on every aspect of this is so important. If you avoid it, you're just gonna make it worse. It's gonna get a lot worse than it could have been had you been real clear about expectations and what needs to happen and how you can make it work. So I'm with you.
Another thing, most violations start with high grass and what they call nuisance accumulations, trash around the property. That's part of, especially if you're a landlord, keeping up with your properties. I was talking to somebody the other day, he's like, I have this rental, I haven't seen it in a couple of years. And I'm like, I think at this point you just shouldn't go buy it till they leave.
Yeah, because that could be bad.
No, at this point you probably don't want to know after a couple, or maybe they've got the greatest tenants ever and we should take those tenants and clone them and study them and figure out how to make this happen. But but it's really usually keep the grass mowed and don't let trash get around the property, because that's what gets them looking.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing too is just going on properties in general. If you have a property and when every time you show up, the yard's mowed and there's no debris, highly likely the inside's in good shape. It's most likely the inside's in good shape. But when you pull up and it looks bad, inside's going to be real bad. I mean, that's
also
just
cars without license plates.
Yep. That's probably the third most. That's probably the third most popular from a management standpoint that we get violations on. Debris and yard stuff is the first and second, I'd say, or almost combined. But tags on the car is a code violation. You could have the car parked, maybe facing face first out to the road, so they can't even see the back of it. They can get out of their car and take a look at it. If it's not up to date on the tag, or no tag at all, it's code violation.
Well, if you don't have a tag, at least back in the driveway. Make them work for it.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. The funny thing is, they'll still walk for it. They'll still walk up to it. I've had that happen. Of course, once you're on the radar, they'll look for everything. But I had code violations. I'm like, the car's backed in. They get out and they take a picture of it. And I'm thinking, man, you don't have much to do if that's your biggest concern. But typically, it doesn't happen if everything else looks good. You're not gonna get a problem when the yard's mowed. There's no debris in the yard. It looks good. Like there's from face value, it's fine. But if they start opening, looking into stuff, that's when they find those kind of violations. It's just like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, it is what it is. So, well, what we probably should do is promote our meeting coming up here. We've got, we got a luncheon and an evening meeting. Most of our members obviously know what that is. We meet twice a month. We meet the first Wednesday of the month in our luncheon, and then we meet in the evening on the third Wednesday. And twice a month, we get anywhere from 45 to 100 people, depending on the topic and interest. But I can't put into words how important networking is. That has been the key to success in business. Who knows you, what your specifics are, and what you do. And attending any networking meeting once is going to do nothing for you. Consistently.
One of the bigger checks I've gotten is because somebody knew, hey, Jeff does a lot of land. I need to move this lot quickly. It was part of a purchase and they didn't want it. Yep. And I made a lot of money on that. And that's because I talked to people about land.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. By being at that meeting and doing that, they wouldn't know otherwise. I just know, even from the property management business, the half of my business, I bet, has come from someone who said, hey, he does this through the meeting and do networking. That, if not more than that, just who you know, and who be a good person, do a good job, work hard. But the other thing I'll say too is, don't know when to pivot in your business if it's not working, but try to be consistent at something. I think I see a lot of these guys that will every couple of years are on to their next idea, and it's like, you're not going to build any momentum in that business and be known for some niche that you're good at if you change every couple of years. Obviously you got to make it work, and it's got to make pay the bills and take care of your family. But I just people that every few years they got this new idea they're going to do. I'm like, well, there's some basics that work always. I would focus on that. That you can have consistent.
I mean, as long as you've got the basics going, you can do the cool new ideas, but it shouldn't 100%. Somebody's coming to mind here. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That
Oh yeah.
Every time he builds something up, and he gets shiny object syndrome, and off he goes into the next tangent and walks away from sometimes a concept that's producing pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I see that all the time in the business where, hey, I'm good at this. And then wait, I need to pivot again. I'm like, it's working. Like, you've got a great concept. Keep going at it, and anything in this business too, to build recognition for and have some success at, it's not overnight. It takes a long time. It takes grinding. I mean, it just does. And so if you're willing to work and put in the hours and put in the time, real estate's an awesome way to make a lot of money, but it's not easy. It's not like the whole get rich quick concept does not work in real estate, in my opinion. So for longevity and for long-term income, it just doesn't. But you make a lot out of it, you do it right, you make a lot of money. So
cool. I enjoyed talking to you, Mike.
Same, Jeff. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
This concludes this edition of RIAcast. Be sure to subscribe to receive our next episode. You can also subscribe at our website, www.swflreia.com. See you at a meeting soon. Please let us know if you have a suggestion for a future episode.